A haunting presence, the nights after my mom passed. Losing my mom was the hardest thing I've ever faced. She was a burst of life, vibrant, full of joy, and someone who could light up any room. In 2020, with the COVID-19 pandemic sweeping through the world, it felt like we were all trapped in a nightmare. Sadly, my mom became one of its many victims. Just weeks before my mom caught COVID-19, she called me, her voice shaky and filled with emotion. "I had a terrible dream," she said, crying so much. I had to pause and give her time to collect herself. That moment, all I wanted to do was reach out and give her a big hug. I felt my heart shatter after hearing what she had told me, but it was not about her dream. I insisted she come stay with me on the East Coast, especially since California's infection rates were skyrocketing. But she turned me down, and frustration bubbled inside me. I rushed to say goodbye without asking her what the dream was about, wishing I had pushed harder for her to visit. 1 week passed with no word from her. A knot formed in my stomach. Something felt very wrong. I finally called to check on her, and when I heard her cough so harshly that she could barely speak, my heart dropped. It was a gut-wrenching moment of helplessness. I wanted to fly there and take care of her, but in my heart I knew this was going to be bad. This was during July 2020. COVID cases was in high peak, especially California. Any infected family members who goes into the hospital has a very slight chance of coming back home. My mom knew this. Her doctor can only do so much. After she came home, she had a heart attack. Rushed to the hospital, she was put on life support, a decision that would keep her tethered to this world for over a month. But then the doctors decided it was time to have the talk, the one that would force us to confront the reality no one wants to face. I flew to California, stepping into my mom's tiny room, the one she had promised me whenever I visited. As August 2020 arrived, the weight of the unknown pressed heavily on me. On the day they took her off life support, an eerie stillness settled in. I felt an unsettling presence, as if something was lingering in the air, both in her room and in the adjacent kitchen, separated only by a thin curtain. Just like when my dad passed, I felt a profound loneliness after my siblings retreated to their rooms. I found myself trapped between fear and the desperate need to stay close to my mom in her final moments. Around 6 p.m., the howling of the neighbor's dogs pierced the silence, and I slid the window shut, leaving the summer air to flow through the security door. Sitting in her dimly lit room, I stared at the curtains swaying gently with the breeze. Confusion washed over me. Where had everyone gone? It was silence, as though everyone had left the house. Suddenly, I heard it. The noise of kitchen cabinets opening and closing, as if someone who is desperately looking for food, but there were no footsteps to indicate who or what was causing the commotion. The noises grew louder and more frequent, pushing my anxiety to new heights. I tried to remain calm and composed by meditating and chanting the Buddha chant over and over again, a spell for Buddha protection. My headache throbbed, making it hard to concentrate. I want to call out for all my siblings, who were all tucked away in their rooms with their doors closed, but the overwhelming presence felt too heavy to ignore. Taking a deep breath, and chose to walk through the curtain into the kitchen, and I planted myself in front of the kitchen sink, stomped my feet once and twice for courage, and placed my hands together to pray. "Mom, do you want me to get sick? If I can't sleep, I will get sick. Please let me rest." Exhaustion washed over me, and I surrendered to sleep once more. The next morning, I shared my strange experiences with my sisters. My older sister said, "Mom's spirit is just hungry," considering she was on a ventilator for more than a month. But the unusual occurrences didn't stop there. If you like my story, make sure to press that like button, and if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do that for more true story. Everyone was asleep, and I was startled awake by a rhythmic clinking sound. I pulled the curtain aside to peek into the kitchen, trying to pinpoint the source of the noise. Suddenly, the noise stopped. To my surprise, I noticed a cord hanging low from the corner of the kitchen counter. I lightly banged it against the corner. There it was, the sound that I have been hearing. must be swinging and banging against the side of a drawer. I went back to lay down and the banging sound started again. I couldn't understand how it was moving on its own. That moment, all I wanted was to rest. I didn't want to overthink it or connect it to my mom. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that the ominous swinging of the cord was too close for comfort, separated only by a thin curtain. While I couldn't caught it moving, the noise was unmistakably clear, echoing in the stillness of the night. Frustrated, I took out my phone and snapped some pictures to send to my husband, complaining about the disturbance. His reply was simple: "Go to sleep." So I pulled the cord down to touch the floor, hoping to silence it, and eventually dozed off again. When I woke up before everyone else the next morning, I raced to inspect the cord. To my shock, it was no longer on the floor, and it was not where I had left it. I quickly checked my messages. Every photo I sent was blurry, even though I remembered taking clear pictures. I decided to put that incident aside and focused on getting through my mom's funeral. After the funeral, I felt a weight lift off my body. It was as if her spirit had found freedom. Perhaps she had finally realized that she was no longer bound to this world and didn't need to linger so intensely around her room. With that heavy feeling gone, things began to settle down, allowing me to find some peace. I packed my things and prepared to travel back home, carrying with me the memories of her love and the hope that she was now at rest. As I navigated through the haze of grief, I was left with more questions than answers. It felt as though my mom was still there, lingering just out of reach. Thank you. Like, share, and subscribe for more videos.